Got one on the jig. First one of the day out here. Kind of pitching it up shallow towards some. Holy shoo-ba-doo-doo. That is a big fish, guys. That is quite large. Oh man, spilling everything. Gotta get the net. Ho 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 ho. All right. Oh man. See if we can land this guy. Man. Ooh yeah. Guys, that is a good way to start the day. Might make up a little bit for some of the fish I missed in my last outing. Man, this guy is heavy. I'm gonna say that might be 4 pounds. That's getting pretty close to a master angler. I don't know if he's quite there, but he's close. We will see. I just put a different trailer on this morning on my jig. It's another Berkeley trailer, some kind of craw imitation type thing. So I wanted to just mix up my game a little bit so I'm not throwing the exact same thing all the time. I've been throwing the Pit Boss mostly, and I've got a freaking mess in my boat right now. Man, what a freaking fat fish. Oh, I'm glad I hooked into him. There. Let's get a length on him. Come on, B20. B20. Not 20. He's 19. Mouth is closed, touching the board. I'm gonna say 19 and a quarter. You can see him on that quarter mark right there. Solid fish. Tell you what, I better get the phone out here. Ooh, this thing is leaking eggs. Don't lose all your eggs, lady. .7. All right, guys. Come on. Solid fish to start the day. Get her back in here. I normally can't tell the gender on fish, other than females are supposed to be larger for largemouth anyway. But when they start squirting eggs out on your measuring board, makes it a little easier to tell. See you, girl. Yeah, that was a good way to start, guys. All right, It doesn't do a whole lot for my game plan of throwing something other than a jig today. And it has just been turning into the year of the jig for me. I mean, I know it's a good bait, and everyone always says if you can only have one bait, it should be a jig. And you know what? They're freaking right about it. But I do enjoy catching them on moving baits as well, especially. I mean, the water is getting up here 62.5 degrees today at the lake that I'm at right now. They ought to be biting something other than just a jig, so we'll see if we can catch them that way. Thank you, guys. Actually, tell you what, guys, I'm gonna give the A-rig a chance today. I haven't really given it much of a chance so far this year. I've been throwing it towards the end of the day after I've already hit all my good spots. You know, that kind of a thing. I'm gonna give it a chance now. First thing, first cast on all these different spots. You're gonna get a chance to see the A-rig. See if I can catch some fish on that.
Cool, alright, well I'll probably swing by. You gonna be out there for a while or what?
Yep.
Alright, cool, yeah,
Yeah, I gotta go around the whole lake with a lure that actually works now.
There you go. We'll figure it out together.
Oh, I got one! Yes! No! He came off! Damn it.
Came off?
Damn it! Oh my lord.
Head rig or what?
No, it was on the umbrella rig.
Oh.
God dang it.
Alright, bro, well, I'll see you in a bit.
Alright, I'll see you.
Yeah, wait.
Bye.
Alright, gang. So I caught that pretty good sized bass. That was a 4.7 pound bass. Shortly after I got here, I was probably 15 minutes into it. Just kind of worked my way around the first corner and hooked into that with a jig. I then decided I was going to finally commit to the Alabama rig because I've been throwing that some this year without any success, and it turns out that was a huge mistake. I don't know what the hell the deal is with the Alabama rig, but I don't seem to be capable of throwing it, so I've decided I'm not going to waste my time with that anymore. I will probably not be tying that on for at least a couple of months until something tells me that there's a good reason to. Anyway, I'm now going to switch gears. I'll probably tie on a few new lures and see what I want to do to try and make this happen here. So I've already caught one on the jig. So I know that's gonna work. Obviously the jig is always a good option. I've got a lipless crankbait tied on, might do that. I've also got a just kind of regular swim bait on a jig hook tied on. I think that might be okay, although there's a lot of vegetation coming up in the shallow water around here, so I might swap that out for a swim jig and give that a try. That or some Texas rigs. There's a lot of honestly, there's a lot of this like vegetation with these reeds and stuff around here that looks really good from a ways away, but out in front of these reeds, even as far as like 6 feet out in front of these reeds, the water is like 8 inches deep. So I don't think there's probably a ton of big fish tucked back in those reeds just because it's that shallow. I'm sure there's some fish in there, but I don't have the confidence in it that I would if those reeds were in a couple feet of water as opposed to 6 inches of water. So anyway, I'm gonna switch out some lures and hopefully have some success now that I'm not wasting my time on that damn Alabama rig. So wish me luck.
You think I could bum some tackle off of you? A couple of bullet weights and like a 4/0 hook, if you got any.
Bullet or
tungsten? I'll just grab a cheap bullet weight. It's fine for me. I'm most likely to lose it quickly anyway, so. Thank you, sir.
What? I got 3/16 and a 1/4 ounce.
Let me like see it. Like, I don't actually know. Let's see. Let's do 3/16. That ought to work.
Or I got.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, man.
So I would have liked to show you, I made probably 30 casts or so at this bass that's up shallow here, but I just had to edit it down for time. This video is getting too long.
Got it. Oh, yeah. Oh man, I played with that fish for probably 15 minutes before I landed it. That was very gratifying to get that thing to bite eventually. I threw several baits at it. So I'm gonna get this hook out of him real quick. Threw several baits at it. Started off, I first saw him when I was going down the bank with a Fluke, and he kind of darted by me and I saw him, and I didn't realize he was on a bed at the time, but so I just kind of kept making some casts at him. Ended up noticing that he just kind of kept going back to the exact same spot over and over again, and yeah, so threw a jig at him for a while, threw the Fluke at him for a while, ended up throwing the swim jig at him for a while, and that's what he eventually bit on. Now, I'm saying that I caught him off a bed because all indications from his behavior or her behavior would tell me that, but if it is a he, his tail's not messed up. I didn't actually physically see a bed, and I don't know, I just don't see any physical signs that that was the case, but that was what the behavior was. So anyway, I'm gonna let this guy go. That is, sadly, I think only fish number 2 today. It has been a bit of a grind after I got that first fish, so we'll get this guy back in the water and we will keep going. Well, I don't know if you can see that. There's another one kind of right here in the water on the edge of that junk, kind of in between those two sets of weeds. Pretty good sized fish. I would guess it's in the 3.5 to 4.5 pound range. I don't know if it's gonna be like in kind of like a on the bed situation in terms of how it reacts to me or not. We will find out. I'm dragging the Fluke over it right now. Give it a couple twitches. Does not seem interested in that. Oh, yeah. All right. This fish has seen better days. So we're gonna go ahead and get him back in the water. Hang in there, buddy. Hope you heal up. Oop. Got stuck to my glove a little bit. Oh, that was cool. That thing freaking ate my jig like 3 times right in front of me. finally got a hook in him. Man, that thing was freaking charging at me so damn fast. Oh, and he pulled the hook out somehow. Well, that was kind of fun though. Got him. Oh no. Come on. On the Fluke. So what I'm doing with this Fluke, so there's a couple different ways that people rig these things. I really just only rig it one way, which is basically a Texas rig, but with generally when people talk about Texas rigs, they put a bullet weight on the front of it. Obviously you would not in this scenario. So I generally rig it like that, and I do kind of do what they call Texpose it, or I kind of bury the hook a little bit in the top of the bait. And you basically just work it like you do a hard jerk bait, except you're able to do it in much shallower water with weeds in it. So you just kind of jerk it a couple times, let it flutter through the water, rinse and repeat. The other way that people rig this thing is with like a mosquito hook, like a 1/0 hook, or maybe a 2/0 hook, probably a 1/0, or maybe even like a number 1 hook in the nose, and they'll just hook it kind of right through the nose. And I think generally speaking, theoretically, these baits are eaten head first more often than not. But anyway, like I said, I like to rig it Texas rig so that it is weedless, and that's how I do it.